Hello, folks. This is Hack here with a new comic review. Probably the only one for this past week. Comics were a bit light, but I was able to find a good old diamond, and admittedly, not a bad rough. Got some good stuff, but honestly, this is the one that stand out here. Uncanny X Men number 171, the issue where Rogue decides to join the X Men. Now, if you have a keen eye, especially if you've seen my weekly comic roundups, at least the past two ones, you've noticed that I've been picking up a lot of Uncanny X Men books, and the only reason why is that, well, number one, they're only these reprints, these True Believers reprints, only about $1 and $1 for really good fun stories. Why the heck not? So I'm getting them, and so this will be what, third week in a row I've got one, and this one so far of what I read was really good, because each moment here that I've read was just, how can I put this? It it's not a very action oriented comic. It's only really a few moments in which any type of I guess action happens, but even then they're very brief. But what happens here is that there's a lot of great character moments and and character interactions that make them feel very real. And it starts very impactful when you open up with Storm here, in which she defeats Callisto, declares herself leader of the Morlocks, and then a great part then comes up in which and the great part comes up when Storm then is speaking with Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler says, actually, let me hold up, there we go. Nightcrawler says, "You seem to be going out of your way to make an enemy of Callisto. We were enemies the night we met, Nightcrawler. We shall remain so till the day we die. Nothing I do or say will ever change that." And then Nightcrawler thinks to himself, "Perhaps, but the Orwell I remember would have at least tried." So you have a lot of these character moments going on with Storm, to kind of skip to her side of the story. She is having difficulties trying to become the leader of the X-Men, to the point that she questions of whether or not just to go back home to her old life, because she feels very conflicted. Her fight with Callisto, it was something that she cannot see herself doing. She was essentially being very confrontational and very headstrong, when she's not usually that way. She's very passive. She's one who's very caring, but being the leader of the X-Men is not allowing her to be that way. So she's in conflict with that. You have and you also have also brief moments of just simple character interactions. Like, for example, all the way in the beginning of the book, we had a brief scene with Scott and Madeline Pryor, and that kind of saying the seeds of the big story review, in which we learned that on the day that Madeline experienced her terrible plane crash, it was on the same day that Jean Grey died. So you got that plot thread setting up, and of course we have right here we have actually, original Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers. She's important. It's a rogue story, so she's gonna be an important part of it. I also got some funny interactions with Kitty Pryde and Eliana here, a Colossus sister, and I forget what's her mutant name. I want to say she's Magic, but I actually honestly could be wrong. So I'll just call her Eliana. And and of course, and actually we get to see some romance between Charles Xavier and Lilandra, was cause a funny scene where, where after Lilandra comforts Xavier, uh, she says, You are after all the strongest mutant mind on Earth, among other things. What do you suggest? We could play doctor." And just react right, Alondra. And this is like, but she was actually being sincere. Since Professor Xavier is having trouble with his powers within his new body. So you have all these plot threads, and you have moments where, especially in the beginning, there's a lot of good mixes of melodrama, but also fun character moments, especially with Kitty Pryde. To go back to her, she's throwing a tantrum, thinking people are stealing her stuff, only to realize that it's just underneath her desk. I think it was like, what was it? Did she say disk drives, or did she say swappy? What was that? Floppy disk. I think it was. She said floppy disk. Yeah, it was. It was floppy disk. So you have like fun character moments, and then as you get deeper into the book, you go there. That's when you start the whole drama around Rogue, in which I finally get to read, how that curtails. I've always known that Rogue did not start off as a hero, and was in fact, part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and her whole relationship with Mystique, her absorbing Carol Danvers' powers and memories, putting Carol in a big, decade-long coma. So yeah, so I finally get to read that of how she officially becomes an X-Men, and every single member of the X-Men pretty much telling Xavier, like, don't let her in. You remember what she did? Why should we trust her? And why should we put her among us? And then there's a great moment that Professor said in regards to when Storm confronted Xavier about having her part of the team. Let me go straight to it. And Professor says this to Storm. Oh, and I can get the light in there. There we go. And he said, he goes, I see. We pick and choose who we help. Is that it? Some are worthy, others not. Who was it? Aurora told me Wolverine was an X-Man not because of his sterling character, but his potential for good. That to deny him, though he abhor his violent nature, would thereby deny our true reason for being, which is to help him achieve that potential. The same argument holds for Rogue, does it not? Of course, there's a risk in accepting her, but consider the alternative. At least with us, she has a chance for a better life. Deny her, and we condemn her outright. And that I will never do to any mutant so long as breath remains within me. I forgot about that, inspiring Charles Xavier, considering what he is now. And the fact that we have and that again, there's that conflict with Storm as the leader. She does want best with the team, but of course, she wants to keep her emotions in check. She's still kind of, I guess, because this all takes place within one day. The story, I mean, she's still reflecting on her fight with Callisto, and then with Rogue showing up, and she's definitely not trustworthy at all. And you have Carol here, when she just wants to go to that page there, just poof, to visit the expansion, knocks out Rogue into the upper atmosphere. She's bitter, and she absolutely has no forgiveness, no type of apologies for Rogue. She hates her. She hates Rogue. There's no other way to put it. She hates her. She wants nothing to do with her. She wants payback for essentially, what was it? Making her miss a good portion of her life. And there was a sad, beautiful moment with Carol in which she's with her family, and she says this. If I can go find the page. I'm revealing a lot. It's an old comic, so I'm not spoiling too much. I'm showing why I really love this book. You have Carol right here, and she says that, if I can get the lighting correctly, I never could fool her. When I was Miss Marvel, she recognized me right off the bat, and now she knows I've changed. If only she knew how much, for good and ill. Charles Xavier did his best to restore my memories after Rogue had stripped them and my powers from me. Thanks to him, I remember pretty much who and what I was. But there are no emotions to go with them. Where once I loved them with all my heart, I feel a vague affection. That's what Mom noticed. What disturbed Mom and outraged me. A loss that can never be replaced. So, she it's hard to say now she feels in the right for hating, really hating Rogue because all that experience and love that she got from her family gone just like that from Rogue, and even though she has all that back, it's not something you can just easily replace. So I mean, this makes you remember when Carol was actually a character and not just a big old and that's just a big old political tool for woke writers. But this is all to say, whether it's the reprint or the original issue or within a trade, Uncanny X Men number 171, man, it took me by surprise. Thus far, of all the Uncanny books I've collected, this is the best one I've read. And I'm sure there's a lot more better ones out there, but man, this one really got to me real good. With actual drama that made you care about every character. I mean, I could kind of care more or less about Kitty Pryde, and this one changed that. So it was a really good book, and if you see this, pick it up. It's a great it's not just a great comic book; it just was a great story in general, and then that's all there is I can say about it. So with all that, thank you very much for watching, and this is Hack signing out.